want it more than they want it. And this is about violating values. What if your kids violate values? So many people will tell us, my kids were raised in the church, we didn't do this stuff, at our house, and then my kids went away and they started violating values, they started straying from faith, they started experimenting with behavior, they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend that I don't like, there's gender identity issues, just the list goes on and on. And so I'm saying to you, you can't want it more than they want it. Because a lot of parents, they're struggling like crazy and their kids are kind of just going on with life. So what do you do when your kid violates values? Well, first of all, you offer your adult child tough love. And remember this, you can't confuse tough love with meanness. You just can't do that, right? So what you want to do is you want to offer them the ability to experience the consequence of their choices. Okay? And so like I know a couple who their daughter moved in with a boyfriend, they were paying for school, and when they found out that the boyfriend and the girlfriend were living in his apartment, so they said, hey, because of the choices you're making, we'd love to help you. And if you want to change this is fine, but we're not going to pay for that dorm that you're not living in. Okay. And frankly, we're not going to pay for college because you're an adult now and you're acting with behavior that says you're an adult. So you're on your own for a while. And guess what? That lasted for about a semester or two. And she came back saying, any way we could rework this because that thing didn't work out. And today she's doing really well, see? So again, tough love doesn't say, I hate you, doesn't shun them, but actually says, I love you so much, you're going to experience the consequence. Okay, so you can't bail them out, is what I'm saying. I know somebody whose daughter had a DUI, and this guy could have paid for getting it taken off just because they had that kind of money. Instead, she had to go through all that process. It was a 10-year process, by the way. So it was on her records and things like that. She went to DUI school, whatever. The parents could have actually changed that, but she needed to experience it. So she wasn't bailed out. Guess what? Today, she's never drank in a car, okay? So the other thing I would say in this case is you can't be a one-topic parent. I ask parents all the time when they talk about this issue, and they're just so, whatever it might be, whatever the issue that's causing them pain. And I go, do your kids know how you feel? Yes. Do your kids know what you believe? Yeah. Well, then broaden the relationship and even talk about other things. They know how you feel. They know how you believe. So you can't just become a one-topic parent where you're pounding that into them all the time. And then a lot of times this causes us to get angry, and I'm saying don't dump your anger and frustration on them. Okay? Now again, they can know that you disagree with them. Please, that's fine. But make sure that you have people around you when your kids are violating values who you can talk to. Many times people will just stay quiet and not talk about that issue. Okay? When in fact what they should be doing is getting help with others. Now another one that a lot of parents talk to me about of adult kids is the fact that the kids strayed from faith. And what I want to do is kind of help you think through something that I call the anatomy of a lost faith, because parents sometimes go, what the heck happened to these kids? Okay. Well, first of all, kids are graduating from high school today and they're walking away from the church. Okay. And so they're neglecting spending any time hearing about God. And so they neglect their life. They're still Christians, but they neglect their life with God. After you neglect for a while, you drift. So I live in Southern California, and if I got on a boat and I drifted even 1%, I was trying to take a boat to Hawaii, but we drifted 1%, we're going to end up in Australia, right? Well, that's what's happening to kids today. They neglect, they drift, and then somewhere in there, they experience unbelief, or what I'm going to call lack of trust. When that happens, they might even move into the next one, which is disobedience. So now they have disobedience. So they're not walking in the way that they would know. So they've walked away from God. They've walked away from his principles. Okay. So what happens then? Well, then they get dull of hearing. And the Bible talks about that. It's a biblical phrase, dull of hearing. And then eventually they forfeit their spiritual purpose. Now, what I'm saying is the bottom line is even with all the heartbreak, they're still asking this question: do you still love me? And so again, I'm not saying that you ever would shun them. I'm saying that love brings them back. In fact, what we're finding is a lot of kids who leave the faith right after high school, maybe even in the college years, they come back at two times. One is when they get married, quite possibly, and two, when they have kids. And we are seeing this, it's 65% of the kids leave the church that first year. But we see them begin to come back, especially if they have parents who are showing love. You don't have to agree with them, okay? So even in our family, there's some things we just agree to disagree with. And I was talking with my daughter not too long ago about somebody who has a different way of doing life than us. And they said, well, how can you still be friends with that person? Because I know you don't agree with their actions. And I said, you know what? I think they're forfeiting their spiritual purpose, but do you think it's going to help them come back to God if I'm shunning them or if I'm just showing anger toward them? So I think what I do is I show them love, and actually I let them figure that out. I know